Hmm. I'm gonna keep this here. I need to get into the habit. Zao, zao, zao. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Hey, got a nice cup of warm water. I should probably throw a tea bag in there now that I think about it. I'll just keep the water for now. Man, we gotta get on video soon so I can show you guys how fuzzy my hair is. It's wild. It's wild. Good morning. Name which I cannot say. Oh, Summer. Okay. Good morning, Summer. That works. That works. And another name I kind of cannot say. Not the first one. Something 说空间. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, RR. Okay. Let's see. We need to adjust and put it right there. Coal meat. Coal meat. It's actually common. But that's okay. Okay, folks, ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday. We are in the middle of our week, a couple more days, and we are free temporarily. Good morning, Tina. Hi. So, happy Wednesday. I hope everyone had a good Tuesday, had a productive Tuesday. Hopefully some positive experiences, some learning experiences. But if you didn't, it's okay. Today's a new day. And with every new day, we have new opportunity. So, let's be optimistic as much as possible. So, let's do a little bit of a refresher, a bit of a recap. Yesterday, we started on the topic of seduction. And we had to define what we mean by seduction, right? We had to define it and understand that seduction and manipulation are two very different things. Well, actually, I wouldn't say they're very different, but they are fairly different things, right? Now, through that definition, we found that even through seduction, your goal is still to be able to influence someone or get them to do something you would like them to do, even though they normally wouldn't. However, it doesn't come without a cost. There is a price behind it. Good morning, Nikki. So it means that you have either the ability and or willingness to give the other person something that they want, something that they're looking for. Seduction works in an interesting way in that it's not just what you see is what you get. Seduction sort of plays with the imagination. It plays with illusion, it plays with desire. But it is not like manipulation, where you take from others, but you give nothing in return. You still must be willing to give something in return. Of course. So what I did was I started reviewing the book, like I said yesterday, that I was going to review it again. And the book is called The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. And it gave a few, like, let's say, refresher talking points about seduction. And I will get into those in 8 minutes. Like, once the official hour starts, I will get into those. We discussed how there are different elements or different aspects that can make it so others can influence or seduce you, or vice versa. One of those was acceptance, another was excitement, and the third one escapes me right now. It was acceptance, excitement, and I can't remember the last one. Let me check. Because we had some good talking points on these. Ah, admiration, right? And then we use the example about Trump for admiration. Right? Serial narcissism makes it so that you strongly desire admiration from others at any cost. It was an interesting bit. Hey, good morning, Joanna. 谢谢你. Thank you so much. 谢谢你的礼物. So, out of all of that, let's see, we covered those 3 talking points in terms of what people use, how they understand your desires, right? Another talking point was building connections. You need to make sure the connection is effective. It is real. You're not doing something fake. You're not doing something just to manipulate the other person. The purpose of seduction is that you can do a give and take. You just happen to be the initiator. Okay, so, and then lastly, seduction as an influence. It's actually not just about romance, right? It could be something else. Someone could seduce you into a contract. It could be a business contract, you know? It doesn't just need to be something romantic. It just doesn't need to be something physical or sexual. It could be something mental. It could be something that gives you sort of promises of the future. Hopefully real ones, not fake ones, not manipulative ones, right? So fingers crossed that they're real ones. We talked about the different tactics that a salesperson, a real salesperson, as opposed to a marketeer, would use to seduce a person, to seduce you or you seduce somebody else. And it's more about, this is the thing that I was highlighting yesterday. What is the difference between a salesperson and a marketer, right? So there's people that say they are sales, but all they do is talk about the product. They talk about the product, they talk about the service, and they expect that to be their selling point. But then there's actual salespeople. Good morning, Elena. And actual salespeople will go into the customer's head. They will learn about them. They will understand their emotions. They will understand their desires. They will understand what makes this person wake up in the morning. And then figure out what is missing. What is it that they want? What is the goal? And if they can find a way to tie their product or their service to that person getting closer to their goal or achieving their goal, then that in itself is seduction as well, right? That's what a salesperson, a real salesperson would do. They don't talk about the product, they talk about the person, they talk about the customer. Because at the end of the day, the purpose is to be able to help another person. You help yourself, yes. Of course you want to help yourself. Of course you want to profit. But if you're not helping the other person in the process, it's a downward spiral, right? It's all downhill from there. Because once you sell a bad product or a bad service to one person, then it's just a matter of word of mouth to the next and the next, so that people know that you are actually manipulating or not giving them a fair trade, if that makes sense. But when you do something right, when you provide something that is useful or helpful to somebody, then word tends to get around, especially when we're talking about sales. Okay, that is our recap. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 minutes of free time, I suppose. So, if you guys have any follow up questions or anything about yesterday, we have a few minutes to answer those questions. And once 8 o'clock kicks in, we will continue with the talking points. Good morning, Liu Liu. What's good? The sunset this morning was really good. That was pretty awesome. I was just a little bit disappointed it didn't last very long. I only got to look at it for a few minutes. Good morning, Rain. Good to see you again, buddy. Good to see you again. Yes. So, well, now's your opportunity. We have only a few minutes left, and within those few minutes, if you wanted to ask something, if you want to share something, now is your time to do so. But meanwhile, I will review the talking points. Man, I've been thinking like, do I really want to jump really deep into the business side of this stuff or stay on the personal side of it? I feel like the personal side is more useful for most people, but the business side is more useful for certain individuals, let's say it like that. All right, let's see. Okay, so it looks like we can continue, all right? Nobody has anything to add. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Good morning, Stella. All right, so let's get into it. Our next talking point is about confidence and authenticity. So first of all, let's talk about the confidence. Ah? Oh no. Hey Fiona. So I mentioned it because it's the same author, right? So 48 Laws of Power is the same author as the book Art of Seduction. So that's why I mentioned it. I don't really talk about that book. It is a super good book, but I don't talk about it on stream, at least not yet. Maybe in the future I will. If you would like me to, sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, Lisa. Okay, I see. Well, we need to have a reason to do what we do, right? We need to have some optimism. Hopefully you are at least able to learn something or gain something, even if you're not very fond of the work itself. Oh yeah, I get you, Fiona. It is not an easy book. That is true. I would say even for native English speakers, it's not an easy book to understand. Um, it takes a few things. Look, it's not just a matter of understanding the words on the paper, and it's not just a matter of the vocabulary. There also needs to be some background experience. Hello, Kitty. Some background experience that helps you understand the book more. Because understanding the perspective is really important. They paint a pretty good picture about the 48 laws, right? But if you don't have any sort of personal connection to the laws in particular, then it doesn't feel like you understand it much. That's the thing. Okay, so confidence and acceptance as we're talking about seduction. So I think I mentioned this briefly before. One of the interesting points about, let's say, confidence and seduction is that the more you practice it, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the better you get at it. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you successfully, right, let's say, when we say seduce, you guys know what I'm talking about by now. So when you successfully seduce someone, right, for the first time, maybe you sold them a bike or something, let's say that, then you do become more confident. You say like, oh, okay, if I was able to convince somebody of this, then maybe I can convince another person and another person. The more that happens, the more confidence you build. The more confidence you build, the more willing you are to try to convince more people, to try to quote unquote seduce more people or influence more people. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a cycle. But it can also go the opposite direction. It can go the opposite way because if you fail at influencing someone or seducing someone, you can also take a hard hit to your own confidence, right? And it makes you sort of hesitant. You're less likely to want to try it again with another person, or if you think the person is a little resistant or a bit more challenging. So, that is one thing to keep in mind when you are looking at this sort of situation in terms of influence and seduction. The person who's trying to influence or seduce you, there's a very good chance that they have a lot of experience doing it. And if you are trying to influence or seduce someone else, then you need to be mindful. Maybe you want to start with an easier target. Maybe you want to pick someone who's fairly easy to influence and work your way up from there to at least build up your confidence, if that makes sense. Yes, Rain, persuade is part of it, but I'm not sure if you were here yesterday. We defined seduction to be something that you might not be thinking about right now. It is not the plain idea of seduction, it's much deeper. Yeah. Hmm. I'm not sure if that was part of the topic. Oh, okay. Well, I think for this last comment right here, you may need to get somebody to talk to you directly or message you directly. Yeah, you guys can maybe add each other. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure if you're allowed to add each other. It depends on what the platform does. So just be careful with that. All right. Let me continue. So confidence, make sure you're able to build your confidence. Don't try to take on more than you think you would be able to successfully. Because there's many of us that we can deal with failure. We understand that failure is important for us to get better at something. Failure is important for our growth, our development, right? But unfortunately, there's also a larger portion of the population that cannot deal with failure at all. They feel if they fail at something, that is their sign to quit. Where in reality, it can really just be a sign of needing to improve. Good morning, Melody. Good morning, Liu Wei. Okay, so authenticity. Oh boy. This one's gonna be, I'm gonna be a little bit on the fence about this one, but let's see. Here's the talking point. The most successful seducers are confident and authentic. People are drawn to those who seem genuine and comfortable in their skin. My goodness. You know, I can definitely agree that being genuine, being authentic, can definitely help you be more confident. But one part that I disagree with, and you can disagree with me, I don't mind. One part that I disagree with is that you need to be authentic or genuine to influence other people or to be confident. I don't think that makes sense. Not for everyone. And I will tell you why exactly. It's because if you are a person who's very introverted, very closed in, you're not social, you're not very outgoing, you don't have very good communication skills. If you are this person, then being genuine, being authentic is not going to help you in any way. Because your true self, in accordance to the topic, right, in accordance of what we're saying, your true self doesn't meet the expectation for what you are trying to accomplish, for what you are trying to achieve. So with that in mind, there's a term we say, fake it till you make it. Feel free to write it in the chat if you know it. Fake it till you make it. And it is the idea that you need to become someone else. You need to embody another personality or another persona in order to be able to develop yourself in a positive way, if that makes sense. So I will give you guys some examples. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Adele, right? The singer, the one that sings, never mind, I'll find someone like you. Right. Everybody knows Adele. So Adele, not unlike Beyonce and many other singers and actors and whatever, one of the things that they do is that they create a persona. They create a persona when they're in a concert, when they are performing, when they are in a studio. They don't even identify as themselves, right? Adele is no longer Adele. Adele becomes someone else. And in their mind, the person who they are in their normal life no longer exists when she goes on the stage. That person no longer exists when she performs. And so what happens is, the more often you do this, you say like, okay, in my daily life, I'm very introverted. I'm very conservative. I'm very closed in, right? But when you go on the stage, and in our situation, the stage means what? The stage means when you go out into the real world, you go to work, or you go to school, or you go to perform, whatever it is. You embody a new persona. You're like, I am whatever name you want, right? And you're like, I am a person who is confident, who is outgoing, maybe even a little bit cocky. I'm a person who doesn't care what others think. I do what I want when I want. And that's it. That's quite literally it. If you can convince yourself to adopt to this persona, your confidence will not just grow, but it becomes part of you. And this persona, because you have to remember, a persona is not real necessarily. It's something you make up and you pretend, right? You fake it. You fake it till you make it. And then this persona, over time, it can bleed into your normal self, even just a little bit, but it does. It can bleed into your regular self, your everyday life. I can give you guys an example of how this happened with me. Yeah, Jessica, you got it. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on YouTube video and we are live on WeChat through audio. So you guys are both aware of both sides. Okay, so I'll give you guys an example of how this worked for me. So when I was young, I was very closed in. I was fairly introverted. I was a kid. I loved like computers and games, and I wasn't very outgoing. I was afraid of a lot of people. I was bullied from time to time, but only when I was really, really young. Like going into my teenage years, that really didn't happen. But the point is, I wasn't a very outgoing kid. And also, considering I was a kid of immigrant parents living in the US, we also have the language barrier, right? So there wasn't many things that were helping me to become more confident. My situation was pretty rough. But I realized, actually, like in high school, I realized this in high school, thanks to some of my teachers, is that for some reason, I think I know the reason. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but for some reason, when I was in high school and I would read, just read aloud, right? I'm not so sure this happens in Chinese school, but in the US, when you go to your literacy class or your English class, whatever, we do a lot of book readings. We read a lot of novels, we read a lot of stories as a class, everybody together, right? So what would happen is that I would be one of the only students that when I read, I mean it. When I read the stories, it sounds like I'm in the story. It sounds like I feel what is happening in the story. So some teachers, they pointed this out to me. They said, like you read like an actor. You read like you're there. And that kind of stuck to me. And I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So, what does this have to do with the persona and everything else? Is that when I was reading these stories, I learned that I can become another person. I don't need to be the quiet kid. I don't need to be introverted. I don't need to be shy because the book, the story, the character is giving me permission to be someone else. Okay? So listen to that again, right? When I was reading these stories, because of the book, because of the story itself that I was reading out loud, it gave me permission to be someone else. It gave me permission to not be shy, to not be closed, to not be introverted. So at that point, I didn't develop my own persona. I used the persona of the story. I used the persona of the character that I was reading about. So if the character is really evil and mean and so on and so forth, that's how I would behave. That's how I would read. That's how I would speak. And the people who are listening to me will feel that. They will feel the evil. If the character is honest and kind and friendly, that's how I would read the story. That's how I will become the character. I would be honest. I would be kind. I would be friendly and soft. I will give out the feeling of what the character is portraying in the language itself, in the writing. So through this experience, I was able to understand like, hey, I can become someone else if I want to. And I adopted this sort of technique into everything that I did. When I was doing sales, I adopted into my sales that I am this confident salesperson and no one can resist me, ha ha ha. Or when I was modeling, right? When I was doing modeling and I was doing runway or I was doing photo shoots, I also adopt a different personality. I have a really hard attitude, almost arrogant, and you can see it in my face. It's like, yeah, I look good, I'm sexy, and I'm cool, and you love me. Right? Now, do I think that about myself in my normal life? No. But when I'm modeling, yes. When I was on the runway, yes. I have to believe that. I have to be that persona because you can see it through the person. You can see it through the photos. If someone takes a picture of you, within that picture, we can see by your micro expressions if you are confident or if you are not confident, if you are outgoing, extroverted, or if you're closed in, if you're shy. You can see it in a picture. So it was a matter of creating this new persona and adopting it. And right now, that persona is Comet. So the guy who's speaking to you right now on this live stream is outgoing, is confident, and speaks with definition. This is also a persona. I'm still very happy that that confidence has bled into my regular life, into my regular self, that's for sure. All right, so let's carry on. Confidence and authenticity. So this is why I said like it's not necessarily true that you need to be authentic or genuine or be your quote unquote true self to be successful when it comes to having influence or being a good communicator or networking. You can fake it till you make it. You can pretend to be confident. You can pretend to have good communication skills, to be a person that people want to talk to. You can just pretend to be that guy or be that girl until it happens. Because being your natural self is not doing you any favors in that sort of situation. So that's why I don't really agree with that particular talking point. So here goes. Again, the most successful seducers are confident and authentic. People are drawn to those who seem genuine in their skin, genuine and comfortable in their skin. I love the term right there, the word seem. People are drawn to those who seem genuine and comfortable in their skin. So, you don't actually need to be genuine and comfortable in your skin, but you have to make other people believe that you are. You need to seem or appear that way. Sometimes it's like little things that will do it for you. Typically, when a girl puts on her makeup, depending on the girl, right? Every girl is different. But when a girl puts on her makeup, typically, their personality changes. A lot of girls become more confident, more bold, more outgoing because they put on their makeup. They put on their mask, as we would say, right? The same kind of logic can be applied to men. Have you Do you remember, if you have, assuming, do you remember the first time you put on a suit as a man or as a boy? If you remember the first time you put on a suit, then I'm sure you know what I mean. You didn't feel the same. You felt confident. You felt like you could do anything. Like, oh, I'm wearing a suit. This is what successful people wear. Like this kind of thing, right? You kind of get this little attitude that is like, yeah, I feel powerful, you know? Being comfortable in your own skin sometimes can be heavily influenced by outside elements like makeup, like clothes, like shoes. It could be anything. It could be your hairstyle. I mean, my hair is kind of crazy right now. It's not kind of crazy. My hair is really crazy right now. um, but there are so many things that can make you feel confident, that can make you feel like you can do anything. And it's just a matter of you being able to understand what that is for you. Even if your genuine self, right? Even if your true self is a quiet and shy person, a conservative person, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your goal is to become more outgoing, to be more well liked, to be able to influence people, to be able to expand your network, this kind of thing, when we're talking about people work, right? If this is part of your goal, then you need to find out what is that piece for you? What is that missing element that will help you even pretend to be more confident? That's going to be your first stepping stone. Okay, let's catch up with the chat. Oh, Nick, we strongly disagree here. So Nick says, but pretending to be someone you are not won't last long. Yo, I promise you, Nick, I've been doing this for like 15 years. It's lasted a long time, baby. It's lasted a long time. It's the same. Like, you really have to consider, guys. When you see like the host or the announcer on TV, or the singer, the dancers, the musicians, all of these people, they are all actors. Every single one of them, they are all actors. They are all pretending to be something they are not. They are all pretending to have this personality, this outgoingness, this power that they naturally do not have. Most of them, not all of them, but I would say most of them. Think about it very carefully. If you spent a lot of time with friends of yours who are musicians, who are dancers, who are performers, you will know this. You will know this for a fact. When you watch them perform, they become a different person than the one that you know in real life. They're a totally, totally different person. And you need to be able to understand and respect that we don't need to be turned on all the time, but we need to be able to flip the switch when it is necessary to do so. Let me see eyes. So I says, I am not confident because when I was little, people around me would always criticize me all the time and never encourage me. Oh, dude, listen, listen, my friend. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, eyes. When I was little, when I was a kid, I was constantly teased, not only by kids in school. Actually, kids in school was not even the big problem. Kids in school was a small problem. My family members would tease me. They will tease me about my head. They will tease me about my teeth. They will tease me about all of these things that I could not control as a child. It was horrible, dude. It was really, really bad. And what did I need to do? Like, as I got older, I realized that if I'm going to do anything positive with my life, if I'm going to be able to feel better about myself, I need to get away from these people. That's the fact, man. That's the fact. So I definitely understand. I empathize with you that at a young age, you're probably teased and mocked and whatever because of things that you can't even control. Like it's terrible. But you have to remember that it's still up to you to decide to do something about it. It's still up to you to build up your own confidence, to find out what it is that you can do to bring up your own confidence, to bring up your own outgoingness, if that makes sense. And sometimes that means creating a persona. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Let's see, Canary. Canary says people are judged how they look. I guess this is about human nature, which means they like to see something beautifully. Yeah, sure. But you know what they say, Canary? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? You know what's interesting? That even today, I'm sure you guys know this. You guys know this, right? Even today, as an adult, like, let's be real, like, I'm a grown man. And even today, on a regular basis, because I do content online, people write the nastiest messages to me. People write the worst things because of how I look, because of my face, because of my skin, and all this stuff, whatever. And I'm just like, I came to a realization, thankfully, that when people say those horrible things to me based on my appearance, based on what I look like, right? I really don't care that much anymore. And the reason I don't care is because I came to understand that if a stranger is going out of their way, they're taking time out of their day to come on my channel and say something terrible about me and about my appearance, what that really tells me is that they lack self esteem. They lack confidence. They feel so bad about themselves that in order for them to feel better, they need to come on my channel and they need to say something horrible to me, even though I am a total stranger to them and I obviously have never done anything wrong to them. We really have to think about like the kind of person who does this. How horrible must their life be? How badly must they have been treated that the only way that they can feel better about themselves is by abusing a stranger online, by writing a bunch of racial slurs and homophobic comments or whatever to a total stranger online who talks about personal development and business consulting. It's kind of sad. So when people write those kind of things, this is what comes to my mind. I'm like, dude, your life must really suck. And I feel really sorry for you. I hope things get better. Yeah, that's good to hear, guys. Yeah, definitely keep close to people who are going to encourage you. Got you, Sophia. Yeah, I think you are definitely right. All right, let's carry on. Hey. So, subtle communication. Next talking point. Seduction involves nonverbal cues like eye contact, tone, and body language. Sometimes the smallest actions can create a huge impact. Definitely true. So, man, I wish I could remember the names of these people, but I don't. Ah, so I remember that there was this runway show, and there are some famous designers in the audience who are watching this runway show. But there are some of the models who are, of course, they're not signed, and they're just freelancing. They're just doing the runway. And I wish I remember who it was. I don't remember the name, unfortunately. But there was one girl, one model, that she was doing the runway just like everybody else. And designers will look at them just like everybody else. They're not important. They don't really care about them, whatever. And as this girl was walking down the runway, she saw one of the famous designers. I don't know if she just recognized her or what it is. I'm not sure what the background story was, but when she saw this designer, as she was walking down the runway, she looked at her and she winks at her, and she turns back and goes back to change. That subtle wink, right? Just walking down the runway, looks specifically at one person, one designer, winks at them and walks away. That was the reason that this girl was signed to that designer's brand, I remember. But unfortunately, I can't remember the name. I don't remember the name of the model and the designer. I have to look it up. But it was so funny. It was so interesting to me because I was like, the person was explaining this situation about like, you chose a model not because of how they walk, not because of how they looked, not because of anything like that. You chose a model because she winked at you. Wow. That is profound, my friend. That is profound. And the thing is, oh man, obviously it's not a romantic thing because they wouldn't be sexually attracted to each other. But it was enough to get this girl signed to his brand. Or was it her brand? I think it was a female designer, this one. I'm gonna look it up and get you guys the names later. But that is just a highlight. Some of the subtle things, the really, really small things that make a difference with someone, that makes a sort of impact. It's crazy to me. Let's see. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, let me go back into it. So, subtle communication, once again, seduction involves nonverbal cues. So, you guys remember what nonverbal cues are, right? Nonverbal cues, these are the cues, these are those small little subtle things that you do that sort of give a sign or a signal to other people. But they are not verbal. They are not words. It is not the things that you say. It is the things that you do. It is the subtle way that you move, or it is the tone in which you speak. So, for example, let me see if I can give you guys a really bad example when we use tone. I know that a lot of people will listen to the stream, to the podcast, because of the way that I speak, right? But if I was talking like this all the time and I sound like really lazy and I was like, oh my God, why doesn't he like enunciate his words? Then you guys won't really like what I say, right? Let me ask you a question. If I spoke like that for 1 hour, would you actually stay in this stream? Think about what you just experienced for a few seconds and tell me, would you stay here if I spoke like that the whole time? I'm gonna get some hot water. funny. They're like, oh my God, terrible. uh, right, right. I remember there was one time I was on a live stream and I was talking to people about accents, right? And the comments were not merciful. Oh boy. It's just that I'm brushing my teeth now so I can listen for a while. Okay, gotcha. I was talking to people about accents during another live stream, and I like morphed my accent into something else. So it was basically like I do this kind of strange shift where I change my accent to speak a bit more like this. It's not quite British, it's not quite Australian. It seems to be a blend of many different accents put together. I'm not sure where I got it. Perhaps I was just listening to some talk show hosts, but you don't really understand what I'm saying, right? And it was like, bro, that was terrible. Please never speak like that again. Oh man. It was so bad. It was so, so bad. But anyway, the point is, regardless, even if I'm saying the exact same things, right? Even if I'm saying the same words, it will make a huge difference in the way that I'm saying it. Whether it is the tone, whether it is the accent that I'm using, the volume, the speed, all of these things matter. So when we are talking about the art of seduction, right? And influencing people when you speak to them or when they influence you, you need to take this into consideration. Is how is your message going to be received if you are speaking too quickly, or if you're speaking too slowly, or if your pitch is really high, or if your pitch is very low, right? I think that I will take a message very differently if it's said in these two different ways. For example, there's a girl, she's working as a salesperson, she's selling suits, right? And she comes up to me and she says, "Oh wow, you'd look really good in this suit." And she hands me a suit. Now let's change that scenario, do the same thing, but she comes up to me with the suit and she goes, "Wow, you look really good in this suit." What is the difference? What kind of impression am I going to get from the first way she said it versus the second way? So the first one, "Wow, you look so good in that suit." And the second one, "Wow, you look so good in that suit." Good eloquence. Oh, thank you. You're so nice. So nice. Second is more sincere. Really? Interesting. Okay, you say the second one is more flirty. Mm. Okay. First one sounds not that real. That's the fake one. First one is focused on suits. Wow. Ooh, I like this comment. So he said the first one is focused on suits. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. The first one is focused on suit. The second one is focused on you. Wow. You know what? That is the impression I was trying to make. I'm just surprised that someone actually determined that from just the tone. That's interesting. Sorry, Fiona. Right, right. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So he said the first one is just trying to persuade you to buy something. Remind me of sales. Okay, I see. Interesting, interesting. First one is a real friend. Okay, but you guys see this. There's so many different responses to the two different voices. Some people prefer the first one. Some people prefer the second one. Some people say the first one is fake. Some people say the second one is just flirty. So this is what I'm saying is, in terms of influencing or seducing or whatever you want to call it, right? We need to be able to understand who it is we are talking to and what would be the best way to reach them, right? Maybe the first voice would work well with certain people, but the second voice would work better with certain people. So, for example, I would argue that if the customer was with a wife or a girlfriend or something with them, then using the first voice is better. I think that makes more sense. If that person is by themselves, using the second voice is more effective. That's how I would see it. That's funny. He says, let us listen a second time to recognize the difference. Yeah. Rita says, forget the topic of seduction. When I hear the second one, I think she really means it. All right, let's change the phrase and let's change the scenario. Let's try with something else. Let's say, if somebody else can give me a scenario, that'd be better. All right, so you are waiting for the bus, for example. You're just at the bus stop minding your business, and this stranger comes up to you with like a map on their phone, whatever, and they say, first one, hey, sorry to bother you. I'm trying to find out where's the museum. Do you know? Or, sorry to bother you. Can you help me find the museum? Okay, first one. Second one, hey, sorry to bother you. I'm just looking for the museum. You think you can help me out? All right, how do you guys feel about those two? Which one are you more likely to respond to openly? Number one? Jessica says number one. Okay. What's wrong with number two? What is wrong with number two? Good morning, Yan. You will help both. Okay, that's reasonable. Maybe I should probably turn off the air conditioner. This thing's killing me. The first one is young, the second one is old. Really? Really? Interesting. All right, let me try it. Let's try it one more time. Let's try one more time. All right, first one. Hey, excuse me. Can you help me find the museum? Now the second. Hey, sorry to bother you. Could you help me find the museum? Ah, interesting. Good comment. All right, so you says the first one is higher pitch, easily to raise my intention to help. Okay, okay, so the higher pitch makes you feel like it gets your attention and makes you more likely to help. Okay, interesting. First one is from a woman. Are you sure? Really? I thought they were just both neutral tones. The second one is from a man. The second one is more comfortable. Okay, Hui says they are both the same. Hua says the second one. 早上好. Second is more steady. Interesting. Interesting. The first one sounds more desperate. Okay, Jessica says the first one sounds more desperate. Interesting. So the idea is you really have to try to gauge who you're talking to be able to have a positive effect or influential effect on them. So I would say the first one, I would use it if I think the person is very reserved or they look kind of shy or something like that. Maybe I would use the first tone. If I see that the person looks a bit more confident, a little bit more out there, I would probably use the second tone. Interesting. So Bless says the first one is like the first one is like in a hurry and really needs help, and the second one is a bit formal. Interesting. May says the second one is more charming. Yes, that's true. Very, very good. Very, very good. These are all very good assumptions. So the thing is, there isn't a right or a wrong. There is no right or wrong answer. It is just a matter of your own personal interpretation. Crystal says, the first is like going to the toilet. Yeah, the guy is not asking to where's the museum. The first one is asking, where do I find a toilet? I really need to go pee. Oh man. Wu says the second one is better. That's funny. First one's like, where's the toilet? Where's the toilet? Can you help me find a toilet? It does sound like that. It does kind of sound like that. So, different nonverbals, especially when it comes to your tone of voice and your pitch, it's going to have a different effect on different people. I will give you an example. Many, many years ago, I had a coworker, a fairly new coworker, and I avoided her like the plague. I will try my best never to talk to her and never to interact with her. Do you know why? There was just one coworker in particular. Like, if I saw her, I would just go the other way. If she started speaking, I would try to end the conversation very quickly. Can you guess why? Oh, thank you, Fiona. Fiona says, I have to say that I followed your channel because of the voice first, then about the content. I know. A lot of people actually do that. They get the attention is grabbed by the voice, the tone, because that's the first thing you realize, right? It's the easiest and fastest thing that grabs your attention is my voice, the way that I'm speaking. The content, you don't really know the content until you spend some time listening, right? So that's the natural course of things. Okay, so let me tell you, this coworker, this colleague of mine, the reason I avoided her was because of her voice. Now let me explain. Even though, like, I was single and everything, and it didn't matter, her voice was a problem. And I have a policy of don't shit where you eat, which means that you don't get too close with people at work. She didn't understand. She didn't know the way that she spoke. That was part of the problem. So it was like this. I'll try my best to copy her. I'll try my best to emulate how she spoke to me. Okay. So because I was in charge of mentoring and managing like the foreign department, she would talk to me about different things. And so like she'll come up to a project, she'll come up to me and go, hey, Comment. So I was wondering, do you think that you'll have time this afternoon so that we can talk about what's happening with the new foreign staff? I think they might be having some trouble like getting used to the workload. So yeah, if you have time, maybe we can discuss it and we can find a better way to work with them. That'd be so awesome. Bruh, I would die every time she spoke. I'm like, no. I would die. I'm like, whoa, what is this voice? It was crazy. Like, I can feel it in my chest. It was so horrible for me because It was so like I'm copying her, right? I'm emulating her, but you have to consider like I cannot do her voice. Only she can do her voice. So whatever I just did was 10 times worse. 10 times worse. When she spoke, I can feel it in my chest. It was so soft, so smooth. It was like it was like milk, like cream. And it's like, oh, I cannot deal with you. I cannot deal with you. No way. And it wasn't even about her appearance. Like, she's like a normal looking girl, whatever. But the voice was just too much. I was like, oh shit, no way. I cannot be working with you. Like, if she changed her career to work on the phone, I'm sure she would be successful no matter what she does, as long as she's on the phone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Jessica was asking, does she talk like this to everyone? Yeah. So the problem was, it wasn't that she was trying to seduce me or something, is that that was her natural tone of voice. That's how she always spoke to everyone. She spoke like that to the guys, she spoke like that to the girls. It was just her normal voice in English. In English. In Chinese, she sounds a little bit different. In Chinese, her tone is a little lighter, easier to deal with. But in English, her tone was way, way too sexy. Super smooth, super sexy. It was just like, oh man, I cannot. I can. And I never made a comment. I never told her, like, oh, hey, do you need to speak like that? Because you need to respect people, right? You need to be respectful and observe and be like, hey, is this how they actually normally speak? Or are they just trying to put on the act or whatever? But every single day, she spoke that way to everyone. Anytime she spoke English, that's how she spoke. So I think that what she did was probably something that I would suggest to a lot of people when they are studying a language. I would say, like, hey, you find a character in a TV series or a movie or something that you really like. You like how they speak, you like their tone, you like how they behave, and you emulate them. You copy how they speak, you copy their tone, word for word for word, every episode, whatever movie they do. And this gives you a more natural sounding tone when you speak in that language. Sure, you sound like that character, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because those are actors and they're by default professional speakers. So my impression is that she found a character that she thought was really cool and sexy and whatever, and she emulated this character when she was learning English. And now she's sort of stuck with that voice. Yeah. Excuse me. Even Alyssa says, I can't remember what she says with this voice. I agree. I agree. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're saying. Okay, yes, whatever. Yes, 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 yes. I don't know, Matt. She wasn't acting, Matt. That's so funny. No, I used to. I feel like Hello Talk is kind of dead. It's not great, so I don't use it. Yeah, her voice became naturally seductive in English. It was terrible. It was a horrible experience for us to deal with. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me check one more talking point. And let's see. Seduction involves nonverbal cues like eye contact, tone, body language. Sometimes the smallest action can create a huge impact. So the other bit we need to consider is the eye contact. There's a little bit of a caveat you have to put here, guys, because eye contact is going to be different from culture to culture. You will have a different reaction from different people. Eye contact in some cultures is considered respectful. It's considered really like a good thing to do. But in some other cultures, too much eye contact especially, can be considered rude or disrespectful, right? Especially when you're talking to like your seniors. So even though eye contact can be a good tool in terms of influencing or seducing someone, whatever, right? We need to consider, again, who that person is, what their background is like, so that you can decide if it is appropriate to make a lot of eye contact or not. Short of staring, short of staring at someone, yes, eye contact is very important because I can tell you personally, one of the things that I really, really hate is when I'm speaking to someone and I'm explaining something to them, but they're looking in a different direction. Because for me, your mind focuses on the things that you are looking at. So if you're not looking at me or you're not looking in my direction, I'm assuming that you are ignoring what I'm saying. Or at least it feels like you are ignoring what I'm saying. And in this case, I'm wasting my time. And nothing upsets me more than someone who wastes my time, you know? So I think we need to take some time to practice eye contact, like proper eye contact with people, and making sure that you're able to determine who it is appropriate to make more eye contact with versus who it isn't so appropriate to make eye contact with. It's actually quite a useful tool and it makes a huge, huge difference, which is really ironic because we're streaming the video on YouTube right now, but I'm making no eye contact there, like very little to no eye contact. I apologize in advance. So the idea is, this is very hard to do when I don't have video on the live stream. So I have to try to explain to you guys what it looks like. But the idea is that you look at a person for a moment, you can look away for a moment. It's like you're thinking about what they're saying. You look back at them for a moment and you nod or you shake your head, whatever it is, but you're using your body language to affirm to the speaker that you are listening. That's all that it is. When it comes to eye contact, the eye contact itself is just a matter of showing respect in terms of, hey, I'm listening to you. I am actually looking in your direction. You don't need to stare at them, right? We don't need to stare at the person, but looking in their general direction and giving some nonverbal cues using your body language to show that you are listening to them makes a huge difference. It definitely helps. I like this point. Okay. So I don't know how to read your name, dear, but this person says eye contact can make many men think the other person is in love with them. So here you go. What you want to do is create a balance between the eye contact and your tone, right? So if I'm talking to a girl, I'm talking to a woman, and we're talking business, right? We're talking work. Even if she makes a lot of eye contact with me, if her tone is fairly high or strong or neutral, then there's no reason for me to think like, oh, she likes me or she's falling in love with me, right? Like when I gave the example about the girl with the suit, right? Or the guy with the suit, it's up to you. But if the person comes to you at the shop and says, oh, hey, this suit will look really good on you, it's a higher tone, it's kind of fast. But even if they're making eye contact with me, I wouldn't think that they're in love with me, right? So I'm at the shop, I'm trying on the suit. The person comes up to me and is like, hey, that suit looks really good on you. Did you try these shoes? What kind of pants are you thinking of wearing with that? Oh, okay. Do you usually buy suits here? This kind of tone, if I hear somebody talk to me like that, I have no assumption in my head that they like me, not even a little bit. My assumption is that they are trying to help me out with the suit. Now, if we change the scenario again, they're making a lot of eye contact, I'm trying on the suit, and they come up to me and say, wow, that suit looks really good on you. Do you usually buy suits from here? Okay, right. What pants were you thinking about wearing? Wow, yeah, those pants, Yeah, they definitely suit you. That looks amazing. If somebody's talking to me like that and giving me high, heavy eye contact, okay, then I might be scared. Yes, not staring. Exactly. then I'll be then I'll be misunderstood by him. That's funny. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is about to be 9 o'clock, and I know a lot of you are about to get started with your workday. So, with that said, we are going to end here, and we will pick up tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the live stream, if you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you hit the follow button or subscribe, whatever. Hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. If you want to contact me directly, if you have suggestions for topics for the next streams, or anything else, or any questions that you may have related to personal development or business consulting, you can add my WeChat. It's the same as the channel name. It is Comet Live, KOMITLIVE. I answer all my messages. Don't be shy. Feel free to add me. Stay beautiful, stay amazing, and I will see you tomorrow. 关注一下，拜拜。Bye bye, YouTube. Bye bye, Jessica.